Hey friends, V here. Let me show you how to make this 11-inch poinsettia paper flower using my exclusive mini poinsettia template available for a limited time in my Etsy shop. You will need a 5/16 and a 1/4 dowel along with your hot glue gun and your embossing stylus. If you want to add a stem, you will need a stem thicker than an 18 gauge size, and I learned that along this process. Now for the measurements, you will need 3 of your centers, 3 of your 3-petal layer, and 3 of the 5-petal layer. And I'm going to put all the measurements for you right here on the screen so that way there's no confusion. Now for your first 3 layers that are 5 petals in red, you're going to use your embossing stylus and you're going to create your veining for each of the leaves petals or petal leaves. And you're going to do this for all 3 layers. So just create a line going from the base of the petal all the way to the tip of the petal, and then create diagonal lines going upward on each petal itself. Now, once you've done that for all 3 layers, you are going to style each petal individually. So I'm going to scoop out the center of each petal and then curl the edges away from me. So that way it creates like a dip in the middle of the petal and then the edges are curled outside. So that way it gives more dimension and lift for your flower. And you're going to do this for all 3 layers of the red 5-petal shape, okay? I just, of course, am speeding this up so that way y'all don't have to sit through the actual, 22-minute video that this came from. So you're going to repeat this process again for all 3 of the 5-petal layers. Now, out of the 3, you're only going to shape the center for 2 of them. So 2 of them, you're going to take your embossing stylus to the center using your flower shaping mat that I have underneath it to help lift those petals. The 3rd layer, which is going to be the very base layer, you're going to leave alone. You're not going to shape that. So moving on to the 3-petal shape, these are 3 different sizes. So starting with the largest size, you're going to again scoop the center of the petal with your 5/16 dowel and then take your 1/4 dowel and curl the edges away. This is just going to help create more of a curl on those edges so that way you get more detail out of these layers. Go ahead and take your embossing stylus and carve out the center, and then you're going to repeat the process for this next layer as far as the styling. Carve out the center to give it a dip, and then go ahead and curl the edges out. Now for this layer, you're going to add your hot glue to the base of the petal and squeeze those edges together, still showing the face of the actual petal. You don't want the petal to curl up. This is why we curl the edges of each petal away, so that way you get that detail into each of those petals. So again, you're placing the glue at the base, pinching the bottom edge of each petal together to get that lift and that detail. Now this is the final inside layer, and you're going to do what we just did to the previous layer. So curl, bend those edges out, add your hot glue, pinch together. You're going to want to make sure that you keep the base as much as possible. You don't want that very center area to just disappear. You kind of want to make sure that you have some sort of base in the center. And keep these held together so that way you ensure that they are staying and not going to allow the glue to detach. So for the green layer, I'm going to go ahead and just create my embossing lines, and I'm just curling these down. This is going to add more dimension to your poinsettia. Take a sharp tool, something that has a needle, to poke the center of the green leaves and then the very base layer of the red. Once you have those, you're going to start stacking your remaining layers. So the 2 5-petal layers together, then the single 3 layer that is not pinched at the bottom of the petals, it stayed open. take the very smallest 3-petal layer and place it on top of the next layer, and then use your dowel to push it down so that way they really attach, okay? And some of my petals kind of came open, so I'm just reattaching those. So it's not really any different than the small poinsettia that I showed you guys how to make with this template, aside from adding an additional layer, okay? And then you're just going to glue those right on top and make sure you're giving a push and allowing the hot glue to cool. Now, for your 3 centers, you're going to take your embossing stylus and you're going to scoop out all of the little ends of each of those stems, so that way they're all curled up like little spoons. And you're going to do this for all 3 layers. Once you're done, you're going to flip them upside down and you're going to scoop out the center and roll the center. You're going to gather them together, add some glue, apply it inside the next layer, scrunch it up at the bottom, and repeat. You're creating the center of your poinsettia. Then you add glue to the bottom of that and just attach it to the inside of the very middle of your layers of petals. Now, once you have your center added, now you're going to take your floral stem and you're going to start with the red layer, feed the stem, add your glue, and then go ahead and add the rest of the poinsettia flower right on top. And you're going to really have to hold this in place because you don't want the petal to come off while the glue is still cooling. And then go ahead and feed your green petals, your green leaves, and stagger them so that way they're not lining up with that very base layer. And then just push up and hold until the glue has dried and you have yourself your stem poinsettia. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.